All right. Tennessee 71. Kent State 0. A pretty uneventful second half. And when I say uneventful, I mean next to nothing happened. It was more or less a running clock, even though technically there wasn't one. I spent most of that half split screening with the Kentucky-Georgia game, which kind of like this game, not a whole lot happened in the second half of Kentucky and Georgia. Kentucky, I think ultimately, the game's not over, but ultimately not going to be good enough to beat Georgia, sadly. But Austin Stanley here with me. If we get to patch in Crump, then great. But he was at the game, Jonathan Crumpton, former Vols quarterback, who usually joins me here in the A to Z Sports Big Orange post-game reaction. He was at the game and would be trying to patch in with us by phone. We'll see if we can get him. And if not, it'll just be me and Austin. But any thoughts on that second half at all, Austin?
The fastest half in Josh Heupel's era of Tennessee football, because I remember very strongly when we wrapped up the halftime show, I said it's 10 p.m. Eastern. It is currently 11:07 Eastern, and we've been live for 90 seconds. That's awesome. Like, that is incredible.
I mean, yeah, that it was just, well, clearly a very intentional hand the ball off, do next to nothing from Tennessee. Kent State was already doing next to nothing because they're very bad at the game of football. But yeah, I mean, it was just virtually a nothing. You know, are there really even any takeaways? We saw a little bit of Peyton Lewis. That was fun. Saw a whole series of players that I didn't even know played for Tennessee.
Sure. Yes.
Some like 4-string guys that God knows who they were, but hey, glad they got in the game. Glad they got playing time. And as we kind of mentioned, this is really going to be more about Oklahoma, previewing that Oklahoma game. Tennessee looks powerful right now. Let's be completely honest. Yeah, they didn't put up 88 in this game or whatever we were hoping for, but they look like a team that could do something serious this season through 3 games. And I'll sort of throw it to you, Austin, here. Through 3 games, how are you feeling about this team?
Full team. This is a complete football team because they've scored now at least 50 points in all 3 of these games. They've also yet to give up a touchdown defensively. Special teams has been pretty clean. Not a lot of penalties. Now I know 2 of the opponents were Chattanooga and Kent State. So it's, and then the craziest game yet was the NC State game. And the first half, Tennessee had a 17-point lead, but it did not feel like it was a 17-point lead. It felt a lot closer than that because of the pick 6 and Nico throwing a pick. But I think this is the most complete team that Josh Heupel's had at Tennessee. And it's not even close. The defense is lights out. The secondary's got dudes. The front we knew had dudes. And I think the offensive line, the running game, and the group of weapons surrounding the quarterback that can do it all. This is a very complete football team. They've got it all in front of them. Georgia, not a complete football team. I mean, right now it's still going on. There's a minute 40 left and something's being reviewed. But Georgia's putting up 13 points at Kentucky. Kentucky's got blown out last week by South Carolina. South Carolina blew a big-time lead against LSU. There's not a lot of really dominant teams in the Oklahoma, the team on the schedule next, you said at halftime, was up 4 points deep into the fourth quarter. They ended up winning by 15 points, I think it was, the final, and then barely got by their opponent the week before. Last week, only winning by 2. So there's Alabama, right, was playing with its food against South Florida before pulling away and kind of getting some fluke points. They handled business at Wisconsin today, but Tennessee could be one of the more complete teams in the SEC with Texas that have like the best looking resumes at this point, early season. But Tennessee has a big test next week against Oklahoma. That's for sure.
Yeah. I maybe have a concern with how little we've seen of the truest form of this team.
Yeah.
You pulled your starters against NC State in the fourth quarter. I mean, it's these wins have been so comprehensive. In this one, your starters were out by the middle of the second quarter. And as we kind of talked about, I mean, Nico wasn't looking his sharpest against Kent State. That doesn't mean a whole lot. And you should also take into consideration that he threw probably his best pass to this point in this game.
Maybe his best too.
Yeah, the bomb over the top to Brazel, the one over the middle that he just threw the receiver open into a beautiful window. Yeah, I mean he continues to shine. What's the word all the media guys use? Flash. He continues to flash.
I guess the golden flashes.
Yes, he flashed against the flashes, and yet still we have not seen him put together a front to back game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that's going to come in Norman, Oklahoma. That environment's going to be insane. I could absolutely see a little bit of an adjustment period where maybe he doesn't settle in, get comfortable, start really playing like himself until maybe the second quarter or something like that.
Right.
Where you have to adjust. This kid has never played in a full-blown SEC environment. Let's be clear, Norman, Oklahoma isn't that. They haven't been in the SEC until this season.
But it's a great environment. And for a night game, it's going to be lit. Josh Heupel's return. I don't think there's bad blood between Oklahoma for Josh Heupel from like the fan base standpoint. But there's a lot of deep storylines. I think Josh Heupel obviously wants to go prove something.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that we're going to see the Josh Heupel that if he gets the opportunity to step on Oklahoma's neck, he's going to take it and more. Kind of how he did with Eli Drinkowitz a couple years ago, where just the opportunity presented itself to run the score up like he would do that against Oklahoma.
Right.
And Kentucky's it's over. Well, that's sad. So maybe Tennessee still has the opportunity to be the team that knocks off Kentucky. But next week, knock off Kentucky. Of course they can knock off Georgia.
Georgia, you meant. I know what you meant.
But with that game, I think we're gonna see the Heupel. I don't know if you remember the conversation that Zach and I had with Grant Frierking last year. Who was a stalwart guy on Heupel's team, almost like a de facto coach, even though he was technically a player for forever for Tennessee. Now works for On3. But he told us that Heupel, he doesn't necessarily just show it everywhere at all the press conferences or wherever he goes, but that he is behind the scenes just incredibly competitive. The man holds every grudge. He doesn't forget anything. And I think we've seen proof of this. The man's petty. He's going to take any shot that he can. And then it's probably what makes him a really good coach. And so I'm excited to see how this goes because it's two things clashing at once. It's the ultimate motivation for Josh Heupel to stick it to a school that, according to reports, wronged him in the past, even though he won a national championship for them, and there's probably some, who knows what the exact relationship is there.
I think Alex here on YouTube on that point says, I've heard Heupel still loves the OU fan base. He just doesn't like Bob Stoops / the Stoops family, which
Stoops might be why.
Which might be why he takes his anger out of Kentucky at times too.
Maybe, but it's that ultimate motivation there with Oklahoma, whatever that may be. Clashing with the fact that in his time at Tennessee so far, he hasn't been good on the road in huge spots. He hasn't been. Let's be completely honest.
At night that's what I was going to get to as well, because the biggest road win, I think, under Josh Heupel so far is the LSU game. And you got kind of lucky with an 11 a.m. Central kickoff at Baton Rouge is something that you don't that's a lot different than if it gets kicked off 7 hours after that point. But I remember, I guess going back, there's a couple at Florida's that were night games that were just should have won those games and let them run down your leg. There's the game a year ago at Missouri was a night game, looked really bad on the road at Missouri. There's a couple others in there that the only real stinkers in the Josh Heupel era have been road games at night. And this can't be one of those. There's too much good stuff happening right now. You've got to be able to put it all together because you score 71 points tonight, 65 in the first half. That's going to get a lot of attention. We're in a group text with Zach Reagan and Craig Smith with A to Z, all of our Vols guys. And I said, screw it. Right, put up 100. It's just 5 touchdowns in the second half. And Reagan was like, well, they'll be villainized if they are. And I still think there's a target on Tennessee's back in an extent because of how good they've looked offensively, that somebody wants to be the one to get them. And Oklahoma would love to be the one to get them. Coming in cocky, no touchdown allowed, all these points, great defense. Nico's a superstar, unblemished to this point. And it's a tough environment to do that in.
It absolutely is. It's going to be a fascinating game because of just all the different storylines coming in. It makes me really nervous because this game's not make or break. In fact, in my preseason preview, I said Tennessee was going to lose this game, lose to Oklahoma, not Kent State, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But lose in Norman. I predicted 10-2, lost there, lost at Georgia, because that's just the spots where Heupel has not excelled. And except, again, the fly in the ointment here is that Tennessee looks really good, and not just really good. They look way better than Oklahoma to this point. Oklahoma got pushed really hard by Tulane today. They got pushed by Houston last week. Their offensive line looks weak. Jackson Arnold is nowhere close to the QB that Nico is. But the difference, of course, there is Jackson Arnold's getting to play at home. Nico's playing on the road. Now, Nico did in the preseason. He said publicly that the thing that he's really looking forward to is night games because he loves the opportunity to be able to shut a crowd up, which maybe Nico is the same type of competitive, the same type of petty that Heupel is, and we're going to see a dude go out there and play his best game. And I hope that that's what happens, but I feel like it's not just going to be that dreamy. It's not going to be that easy. That's not how things go here.
Real quick, Carson Beck's lining up 4th and 4 at the 35. There's 18 seconds left. They're going to take they're going to call a timeout. So they were trying to draw Kentucky off to end this game.
Kentucky will have a play, maybe.
I mean, it depends on what. I don't know what Georgia's going to do. It's now 4th and 9 after delay a game. They're going to move the ball back, I think, right at the 40-yard line to punt. So they're going to pin Kentucky back pretty deep. So Kentucky's going to have the ball back with like 10 seconds with no timeouts and the whole field to go.
Could we see the end of the Michigan State-Michigan game blocked?
Oh my gosh!
Return for a touchdown.
And Sean McDonough is on the call, and he would have his voice crack about 18 times.
Yeah, I remember watching that one live and going pretty crazy. And
lost and all that. Remember the kid broke his hip.
Yes,
on that play.
Yeah, because he got dogpiled. If I'm remembering correctly, it was the dogpile that made him injured.
The punt is away, and it is. Oh, that might be an insane play by Georgia special teams if it stands to down it inside the 5-yard line.
Of course, dude.
That was insane. If that holds, 9 seconds left on the clock, so I doubt Kentucky is going to have any opportunity to do anything.
I mean, that's the entire thing when you look at the difference between a Kentucky and a Georgia. Like, Georgia is the team that will close that out, and Kentucky is not. You see in all of those games between Heupel and Stoops, Heupel is the guy that's going to close that game out. Last year, that it was close, and Kentucky had multiple opportunities really to take a lead, take advantage of the opportunities that Tennessee gave them. And at the end of the day, they fed Dylan Sampson, and he He cut the throat and ended the thing, and that's the difference. And that, God, I'm so tired of Georgia. So tired of these guys. Like, it is time, and it's time for somebody that's not Alabama to beat these guys.
Right.
Why not Tennessee? That why not? Of course, that will come much later in the season. But
all right. Looks like we're gonna get okay. Now there's another stoppage of play. I was gonna try to do a little play-by-play, but now the ref blew his whistle for some reason. There's 10 seconds. It was a touchback, so that does help. It was a touchback so Kentucky's got the ball at the 20. 9 seconds to go. No timeouts. I mean,
what that really comes down to, I think we were texting about it because it happened before the end of the Tennessee game, is they didn't go for it on fourth.
Right.
On that, it was like 4th and 8. I mean, it's a little bit of a long shot. But
well, they completed it for a first down. They're not going to have a chance to.
But they don't have time.
There should be another second on the clock.
Did they get out of bounds?
No, but it was a first down, so it'll stop to reset the chains.
Yeah.
But with maybe 2 seconds left.
You could theoretically get a snap.
There's
off.
2 seconds on the clock is what they have right now, but they're going to have to clock starts on the ref signal, and you're going to have to go. There's no spiking it.
Let's see if
Here they go. They're going to get a playoff or not.
They didn't get the game's over.
No, the ref stopped the game for some reason. Like, I can't turn the audio up too high, or we'll get a copyright infringement for audio.
Yeah. We don't want to lose all of our revenue to ESPN. On this stream.
It does seem like they gave Kentucky a free timeout because now, as Bork says on YouTube, is that they're going to have a chance to gather themselves. I guess they're reviewing to see how much time was left on the clock, which it should be 3 seconds. So they're going to add another second. Not that it matters. It's basically one last play.
Well, this is the perfect time for us to take a timeout.
Perfect.
Farm Bureau Health Plans. Farm Bureau Health Plans has been serving Tennesseans for over 75 years. Much has changed in Tennessee over the years, but some has stayed the same. Farm Bureau Health Plans has always valued personal relationships, especially when it comes to good health and good service. Plan on Farm Bureau Health Plans for health, dental, and vision for better coverage, better rates, and better service. Go to fbhp.com/ATOZ or walk into one of their 200-plus locations across the state of Tennessee. That is fbhp.com/ATOZ. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Huge shout out to them. Go get yourself a health plan.
Yeah, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, hit the like button too. Like the show.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so bad at saying that.
Yeah, you gotta tell people to like the show.
So subscribe, like button, notification bell on YouTube so that you're notified when we go live. Do all these things to give us the winning edge so that we don't end up like Kentucky, a bunch of losers.
Well, Kentucky did spike the ball, so now they're going to have another chance to actually set up a play. So
that is something. You got to go with the old Boise State, little hook and ladder.
I want this game to be over just so we can stop paying attention to it and get back to talking about Oklahoma. But yeah, I feel like we're obligated to keep an eye on it, right?
Yeah.
It's what if something ridiculously crazy happened? What if the LSU play happens at Kentucky but to Georgia?
Yeah, the Bluegrass Miracle.
Which is not going to happen, so that game's over. Because Vanderbilt completed a pass over the middle, and the tight end was immediately tackled. So they tried to set up the hook and ladder, but it failed. So now that the game is over, I don't know if Georgia's still going to be ranked number 1 or not tomorrow when the rankings come out, because they shouldn't be, because that is a gross performance at Kentucky. It's not even like they're playing in Lexington in November when it's rainy and gross and cold. It's nice outside in Lexington right now.
And that's what really sucks, if I'm just a betting man here, is that this is going to be the game where Kirby turns around and he's going to scream at his team for 20 full minutes after this, and then probably make them run 40 miles at practice and, light a fire under them that maybe they didn't have going into this one. And then suddenly they're probably going to turn around and play the most crisp football they have. Because who was it against? Was it last year? Missouri. They like nearly laid an egg against. I don't know if it was last year, or the year before. And they have these games, and just they never get caught, but it's bad enough to where it probably gets their head screwed back on straight. And God,
well, I mean
those
Georgia,
guys.
and they're going into a bye week too. So Georgia they're off, and then they go at Alabama 2 weeks from today. But Georgia's got a tough schedule. And I was talking to Travis May, who's our college football editor for A2ZSports.com the other day. We're used to having Georgia with a cupcake schedule, but they actually have a pretty legitimate schedule this year. They go at Bama, at Texas, at Ole Miss. And that's number 4, number 2, and number 5. All 3 of those games are on the road before having Tennessee, who's currently 7th. So, and you can, if you want to put Clemson on the schedule too, as they were 14th and they smacked Clemson in week 1, whatever, you can. But the SEC part of the schedule, they've probably got 4 of the best 5 other teams besides themselves on the schedule, with 3 of them on the road. Like, they don't play Missouri, and Missouri's a good team this year, I think.
I mean, you show up like that, you'll get got at Texas, even if you're Georgia, like they got against Alabama last year, or you'll get got against Alabama. Now, I don't know. DeBoer is not the coach that Saban was, but I think it's not completely off the reservation to say that 11-1, 10-2 is a possibility for them with that type of schedule. So that would be nice. Well, let's go here to wrap up what we're talking about. Tennessee, Oklahoma next week. While we got you, Austin, gotta get your take on that game. What exactly you think is going to happen? We've given it a quick rundown here, where we sort of have these conflicting feelings of, Tennessee looks like the far superior team, but also Heupel has struggled in these spots at night in huge games. How are you feeling?
Well, the one thing I'm really going to focus on looking for is what happens when Tennessee has adversity and it's against a real opponent. Like, they had some adversity against NC State, but NC State's not very good. They struggled today against a lower level team for a lot of that game. They did end up winning by multiple scores. But I think what if Tennessee gives up a touchdown? Like, what if they're down? We have not seen Nico play from behind ever in his career. How does he respond to that? Because this is the first real opportunity where Tennessee could find themselves behind. Oklahoma, that Burks, the wide receiver, he could totally take an opening drive and have 50 yards on 4 catches and a touchdown, and Oklahoma could start 7-0. And now Tennessee has to respond. I liked how Nico responded from the interception against NC State, but he also had his defense help him out, because that game was crazy, because it was 10-3 Tennessee. NC State was driving to potentially tie. Then the pick 6 happens with Brooks, and now Tennessee's up multiple touchdowns and feels cushy again. And Nico has air to breathe and has the ability to kind of bounce back from the pick. But what happens if he doesn't get that bailout from his teammates, and it's on him to go out there and make the play to get Tennessee back in the game, or tie it, or retake the lead? That's what I'm looking at, because we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I still have very real concerns. Not that Nico will be incredible long-term, but at where Tennessee is right this second, he has never played in a game like this, and it's going to be a trial by fire. And some dudes are Johnny Manziel, and they go out in that moment and they play their butt off, and they have a crazy game, and you win, and it's awesome. And then some guys in that moment, I think pretty much no matter how you slice it, just from what we've seen, eventually Nico's going to be a guy that can operate in that environment just fine, but he just never has before. And could this be where, maybe in that first half, the ball starts rolling downhill, and you start stacking up bad plays on top of each other, and things could go wrong, and suddenly you're down by 14, you're kind of looking dazed. And I could see that as a very real possibility. And I don't think Tennessee's going to get blown out, specifically because I've watched a chunk of that Houston game for Oklahoma, and I watched a pretty good portion of this Tulane game. I don't think they have the offense. I think that Tennessee's defensive line should be able to eat these dudes alive. And I think Jackson Arnold's going to be running for his life. And that element alone is probably going to keep Oklahoma from running up any type of real big lead. But still, I could see that 100% of just some, as you said, some true adversity against a real team in a real environment. And suddenly, things aren't going so right. And how are they going to respond in that moment? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, for sure. And we also haven't I think you're right. I think Oklahoma's offensive line is going to have no idea what to do with Tennessee because they haven't been able to protect Jackson Arnold yet. So this is the best opponent that Oklahoma has seen. The other thing too is Jackson Arnold, he nearly had 100 yards rushing today. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, 97 yards on 14 carries, on top of his 169 yards passing. So I know Grayson McCall was a running quarterback for NC State, but he's just not a group of 4 quarterback. And I think we're seeing that for sure. Now Ken disagrees. I completely disagree with you two. Nico's fundamentals are so good. Nico will be just fine. I don't think Charlie and I are disagreeing with his fundamentals. It's just, we just haven't seen it yet. We just have not seen Nico in a spot where he has to respond in a moment to make a big play with pressure, with like real pressure. And Ashton says, Charlie, your battered Vols syndrome is showing. Oh, absolutely. Both of us. But again, like if you're trying to analyze a football team, Tennessee has blown out 4 straight opponents. And they've had the lead comfortably in all 4 games going back to the bowl game that Nico started, and they haven't allowed a touchdown yet. It's been super easy, super chill. There's been no punch in your mouth. So what happens when Nico gets punched in the mouth?
Yeah.
Exactly. What if they're down 10 or 14?
I'm just trying to be as realistic as possible. Yeah. And the absolute truth is we just haven't seen the dude do it yet in that environment. I think, does Nico have the ability in an acute sense to probably tear this Oklahoma defense limb from limb? Yes, I think he does. Is that ability within him? Yes, it 100% is. But you bring in that element of the huge game in prime time at night, big environment. Heupel has historically not been great in that spot at Tennessee so far. And all of those moments combined together, where does that leave you? Because if Nico can overcome all of that and have, a legendary game here where Tennessee beats the brakes off of Oklahoma, I mean, then we may start talking about, national championships and where exactly this team can go from there. But because that, if you can beat that element that has sort of haunted Heupel to this point, not much has. A ton has gone right in Heupel's time at Tennessee, but that piece at night in huge games, that has haunted him to this point. And if Nico can get them to go over that hill and you can whip Oklahoma in this game, the sky's the limit at that point, because you've overcome the one thing that's been plaguing you. And so it's an exciting opportunity. I will put it that way. Am I saying that Tennessee's gonna go out there and lay an egg and have the wheels fall off? No. But I also thought that they would go in and potentially lay the wood to Florida last year. And then we saw how that one went. Of course, that's Florida. And,
and that was Joe Milton.
It was, that's.
But again, that was also the defense, too. Like, the defense did not show up in Gainesville.
Yes. That was the most disheartening part.
Yeah. And then, so I'm going back, and I think Ashton said that's the crazy part is we don't know, because we've never seen it.
Yeah.
At least with Nico. And I know Ken is coming back, and I remember his first start was against the top 3 defense. What do you do? Nico is too cool to be overcome. Again, this is not a doubt of Nico. This is just we have not seen it yet. And Anthony says Tennessee by 28 on Oklahoma. Yeah, that could absolutely be a real possibility. Or it could be way more than 28. But so let's look at these road losses and try to see if we can pinpoint and remember off the top of our heads. It's gonna be harder. Of like what went wrong. because at Florida, what went wrong? If I remember, there was a weird turnover early. Florida could not, or Tennessee could not stop Florida's run game. And that kind of punched in the mouth a little bit. Then you were chasing. At Alabama last year, Tennessee should have won that game. They had a chance to win that game. They lost by 2 touchdowns. There was a couple moments there. I remember one of the biggest articles on A2ZSports.com at that point was something about the referees in that game. I don't remember the specifics about it, but I don't know if that was a night game. At Missouri, everything went wrong, right? It was, you could not stop Schroeder. So there's the second straight run game, right, on defense. Could not stop the run game. So that was last year. Now, if we go to 2022, the road game that killed you was the South Carolina game, and that was just the everything went wrong game. There's nothing else to really say about that one. Everything went wrong.
I don't even want to remember that game.
In 2021 at Florida, that was do you remember? I remember this very vividly. There was a 4th down where Heupel decided to go for it at the end of the first half, and the pass was dropped by the receiver who had daylight. And then Tennessee never got back into that one.
Whatever it's been,
yeah,
you have to, if you're going to find that ultimate success that obviously we want to see from Heupel, you have to get over this. You have to. Would it be understandable to go to prime time in Athens and face Georgia and have some of these problems? Yeah, because Georgia's ridiculous. I mean, that roster from front to back is nothing but 5 stars. Now, of course, you look at the way they played against Kentucky tonight, and you wouldn't know it. But that's understandable. But to go, you are clearly the better team than Oklahoma in this game. I think you can say that pretty well to this point. Defensive line superior, offensive line, you're winning there most likely. I mean, it's going to be a little bit, probably the most even match for your offensive line that you've seen to this point. I put it that way. Mm-hmm. But your offense is better than their defense, so you're winning on both sides of the ball there. And can you get over that, whatever that mental hurdle is, and get there? So I'll ask you this, Austin, since we won't have you. I'll have my show with
I don't get to talk Vols that much anymore, so I'm ask me anything you want. I'm game.
That's good. So I'll be on with Zach Reagan on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern time for the Big Orange podcast. Same place as here, A2Z Sports Nashville YouTube channel. But go to the A2Z Sports Tennessee Vols YouTube channel.
That's right.
For clips and upcoming original Vols content that we will have there. Go over and subscribe. Again, A2Z Sports Tennessee Vols. Search it up on YouTube. Subscribe, notification bell, yada yada. But on the Big Orange podcast, of course, we always do score prediction. Zach and I will give ours on Monday, along with full game preview and everything that we're thinking up to this point. But I'll throw it to you, Austin. Will Tennessee get the win in Norman, Oklahoma next Saturday?
Oh, man. Okay. Yes, I do think Tennessee will win. I do think it's going to be a lot lower scoring. I think this is going to be a game where Tennessee does not score 30 points. I do see some of this road night game shaky start stuff going on. I think there's a couple field goals early that Tennessee kicks and then has a couple touchdowns late. I think Tennessee wins because of defense. I do think they allow a touchdown on defense for the first time in 16 quarters of play.
No.
16 quarters. Oh my gosh. My final score 27-13.
Oof.
One touchdown. 27-13 is my prediction. Tennessee wins.
They only put up 16 points against Houston. They put up a few more against
Tulane
today, but take that for what it's worth. I would take that every day and Sunday too.
Would you take a 13-12 win at Oklahoma?
200%.
Because Georgia just did that.
Yeah, I don't. Here is the thing with what Georgia just did. they won. And that's all that matters at the end of the day is that W in the win column. Now you can take it and go get better and do all the things that Kirby's probably going to do. God knows, he's about to annihilate his team over how they played today. But
what a great time for a bye week, because you're right. Kirby's going to lay into these guys.
Yes. And it's going to make them better, and that sucks. I hate that. I hate that this stupid game against Kentucky that Kentucky didn't even win is going to make Georgia better.
How about the last 3 games that Georgia's played at Kentucky? They've scored today 13, last time 2 years ago 14, and 4 years ago 16. Or 5 years ago.
Cursed.
Yeah, the last 3 games at Kentucky, 16, 14, 13. All wins, by the way.
Thank goodness Tennessee doesn't have whatever that is. Yeah, I mean, it's not pretty, but it's a win. Like that, and I will take that. Like Texas A&M last year for Tennessee.
Yeah.
It wasn't pretty. What did Nestler say about the kick against Alabama in 22, the winning kick? It wasn't pretty, but it was beautiful, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like
it wasn't pretty, but it was beautiful. Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as long as that W's in the win column at the end of the day.
I think like that Texas A&M win, that's a good thing to bring up, because that's a win that I think Josh Heupel and the team needed, because that was the first time they had won under Heupel without scoring 30 points.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to get in a spot where you can't just score 45 and outrun everybody and have we need a point, need a score. Okay, 4-play drive, 77 yards in a minute and a half. Like, you're going to have to grind some of these things out. And I think at Oklahoma, if they're going to have to grind a few of these drives out. Yes. And I think they can do that. Like, this offense looks more efficient under Nico than it did. It was light years faster than what Joe Milton was able to do last year. Did you catch on the second snap of the game for Tennessee's offense tonight? They snapped the ball with 34 seconds left on the play clock.
I didn't notice that.
So the first play from scrimmage, I think it was a quick throw to Brazel to the right. It was like one of those like quick outs or quick hitches. They ran the second play, which was a swing pass to Sampson to get a first down. And there were 36 seconds that they snapped the football after the first play ended. That's insane. And they were successful on the second play. It's not like they just snapped it for the sake of snapping it fast. They were successful. And so they have the ability to do that. They also have the ability to slow it down like they did the entire second half. And so, I'm excited about this game. College game day is going to be in Norman all week long. There's going to be a lot of, no pun intended, hype around this game, with game day being there. Another night game. Heupel's back in Norman. Norman's a great town. I'm sure so many Vols fans will go. I don't know what ticket prices are going to be, but Norman is a very fun college town. You can do a lot of fun things. It's kind of like Knoxville, but without downtown. They've got like the strip and all the college bars and the cool atmosphere, and like you can walk around campus. It's a cool spot. So if you have a chance to go to Norman, do it. That's what I gotta say.
I have been to the state of Oklahoma, but only far southern Oklahoma. Never made it to Norman. A trip I'd like to make, but will not be doing. Maybe in the future, now that Tennessee's actually going to play them and stuff.
I did it the last time Tennessee was there. It was the 2015 season.
Yeah.
14.
15 was the Baker Mayfield game. 14.
14 at Oklahoma. Yeah,
they kicked our butt up and down the field.
Yes, that's correct. But I was there.
Yeah, great. What a great day that was. But definitely do, please, a ton of people go to this game. So just in case Tennessee does, beat the doors off of Oklahoma, I want it to be exactly like that LSU game in 22, where just tons of fans are there singing Rocky Top in the stands when it's over. It was so awesome.
Speaking of beating the doors, Georgia State.
Yeah, baby. Go. What is Georgia
Panthers.
State? The Panthers. Go Panthers. Let's go. It's clutch. A clutch drive to close out Vandy. in that one.
I've seen Vandy fans turn on Clark Lee like that.
It was instant.
I mean, you don't lose to Georgia State as an SEC head coach and last much longer.
Nope.
We've all seen that. Everybody watching, we've seen that happen. Like if you lose to Georgia State as an SEC head coach, the clock has started.
Yes, you're donezo. And I mean, that's a thankless, terrible job. Why you would ever go there as a coach, I don't know. But yeah, that is tough because it did seem like Pavia seemed fun in that Virginia Tech game, and then all of a sudden they're just crashed back down to earth.
Well, they played whoever they played last week and put up 50 and had a shutout, and so they felt like it was 2-0. The funniest thing is Vandy's in Vegas, the over under on win total for the year is 2.5. So all they had to do is win at Georgia State for whatever reason to get the over and start 3-0, and you're up by 3 with 1:14 left, and they waltz down the field and score an incredible play from Georgia State's quarterback and wide receiver right at the pylon. Was nuts. But I cannot believe they lost that game. Like why do you schedule at Georgia State, and then how do you lose at Georgia State?
Vegas always knows. Never doubt. There's a reason that the win total is 2.5. It's because it's Vandy. And, that is genuinely, that is tough though, because it would be nicer if they weren't so bad. Like it's obviously, I think a lot of people, if you watch me or my shows at length, you know that I have a bit of a crusade against Vandy, and I want to see them thrown out of the SEC because they are completely unworthy to be in this league. And they don't even care about sports like as a school, like they just don't. And so get out. You're a leech on the league, but maybe come on. Like it seemed like this quarterback was fun, and then you gotta go lose to Georgia State. Hilarious. But come on, Vandy, what are you doing? All right, Austin, anything else for the folks at home before we bounce out here?
I do think we should spend some time talking about the debut tonight of freshman 5-star receiver Mike Matthews.
Ooh, that is true.
Because
didn't really cover it at halftime.
Yeah, because we're like, we'll talk about it in the postgame show. And then we got distracted by the Georgia-Kentucky game that took forever to end. So Mike Matthews been waiting for his debut. He ended with 2 catches, 35 yards, had a great touchdown grab, had the 17-yard catch and run from Nico. Then he also flashed on the punt return game with one for the kick return, one for 32 yards. I think they've got so many weapons. Like last week against NC State, Dante Thornton didn't even really play. Didn't have a catch. Like tonight, Brew didn't have a catch. We know Heupel likes to do his main 3 receivers and just stick with those guys because they're going so fast. But you've got Brazel, Nimrod, Brew, Squirrel, Thornton, and now Mike Matthews. And you're not even getting to Caleb Webb. I think I just named 5-6 guys. So they're legitimately 6 deep at wide receiver.
It is a what's the right word? A den of dogs, a dog kennel, a pack of dogs. Wow. It's a dog pack in that wide receiver room.
A wolf pack?
Wolf pack, however you want to say that. I mean,
Brew did have 1 catch for 9 yards. Thanks, Gene.
Yes. It is deep. It is talented. And then you have the quarterback that can finally get them the football efficiently and on time and in beautiful fashion.
And there's 3 tight ends who can play.
Oh, yeah. Let's not forget. I mean, this offense is stacked. It's ridiculous. And Mike Matthews is just one more added piece where, I mean, it's the thing that you've seen with Georgia in past years.
Yeah.
Where you see, one of their best guys is down with injury. They're going to have to go to their backup. Well, their backup is a 5-star. So congratulations, because it doesn't get any better, and that's Mike Matthews, where you're like, who's behind this guy? If he were to go down, it's just a 5-star, just a guy that made a spectacular catch and already has great body control and looks looks pretty solid. That's all. And it's really exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, that is and it's a complete testament to just how Heupel's system sells itself. Like, he's not going to have to explain to kids why it's awesome to play for him. All you have to do is just open your eyes and look at what he does. And all of these dudes are going to get their chances, get their moment. Matthews, he might not have a big season now, but his time will come at Tennessee, because you can tell he's already set up to be a dude here. That's
It's like, they don't even need anybody to be the dominant guy. Like, Bork brings up Dylan Sampson running. He is the one guy who has been consistent through the 3 games of having a big day. He's 3 consecutive 100-yard games on the ground. Watch out, because Dylan Sampson already has, count them, 9 rushing touchdowns this year.
Heisman campaign?
I mean, honestly, like, if like Dylan Sampson might keep Nico out of the Heisman campaign.
Hey,
because it was very similar to what happened a couple of years ago with Hendon, is that there were so many Jabari small, like 1-yard touchdown runs. And I think Jabari had 12 touchdowns that year. And, a lot of them were 1 yard out. Like, it was a lot of those, who was the old tight end from the last 5 years? Big Jacob Warren.
Yeah.
Jacob Warren would always get tackled at the freaking 1 yard line. And Jabari Small touchdown is for his 16th touchdown of the year.
Stolen touchdown valor.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah.
And so, but Dylan Sampson's not only getting 1 yard touchdowns, like he had, one from 56, 34, and 22. So
it's ridiculous.
But 9 rushing touchdowns in the last 3 games for Dylan Sampson. So it's Nico and Dylan Sampson. Those are the 2 guys that are running the show. And then you can just rotate literally 9 other players. And I'm 6 wideouts and 3 tight ends. And then you have Deshaun Bishop. So I have 10 skill players surround Nico and Dylan Sampson. And it's just, what night do you want? What card do you want to pick? You can go with Brew McCoy. I think here's the best thing about them is they're all different.
Yes.
Because what corners are you playing? Oh, undersized corners? Okay, here's 6'5" Dante Thornton to run by you. Oh, here's 240-pound Brew McCoy who's just going to stiff arm you into the dirt. Oh, you've got bigger corners that might not be as quick. Here's Squirrel White. Here's Brazel. Here's Mike Matthews that can make plays. It's whatever you got out there covering. Tennessee has the counter.
I mean, we said it last week on the show. I'm interested to see how Oklahoma, and specifically Venables, because he has a history as DC, how he goes about covering Tennessee, because it is not just, do you want to try to take away the pass? Do you want to try to take away the run? Where you go? It is purely a pick your poison situation. It's not like, you comprehensively stop Tennessee. It's either you stop the long ball and then they'll run for 250 on you, or it's stack the box and then they'll just bomb it over the top on you. Like, those are your 2 options. That's all you have. And it's got to be terrible having the game plan for Josh Heupel, man. And especially this year, you might not have that over-the-top spectacular guy like Hyatt, but yeah, six receivers that you could roll out there, 3 tight ends that all seem to have skill sets that can be effective, and then Dylan Sampson, who might be building a Heisman campaign. Nothing big. Go ahead, just try to stop it. And I don't know what you would do. Best of luck.
Last running back to win the Heisman Trophy. Go.
Derrick Henry.
Okay, yeah, good. Nice.
Was it? Because they had. I was thinking Alabama had another guy that was wide receiver. It was
Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith, yeah. Hey, shout out to Derrick Henry. R.I.P. to him as a Titan, not him as a person.
Oh, hey, Charlie. Speaking of the Titans, because I got Titans game day shows I'm doing tomorrow for the home opener versus the Jets.
Yep.
Guess what delivered this week? How about guess what delivered this week?
Oh, you got the Levis cologne. Sweet. Mayo cologne, baby.
Why they couldn't deliver it the week before the Bears game, right? Like that would be better marketing is before you have a chance to ruin the first game of the season.
Now the tagline should be, "You can now stink just like Will Levis."
It comes out strong but fades very quickly.
It's not a cologne for finishers. That's yeah.
I will say
Closers need not apply.
Billy Bob says, I bet that crap stinks. It actually doesn't. I was at the press conference in training camp right after it dropped, and he had a bottle and he just started spraying it on media members, and it doesn't smell bad. It smells like citrusy cologne. Like, you don't smell any mayo, but it does. Like I did it. Like go back to my laundry hamper like the next morning, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can still smell the shirt that I wore. Like it stayed with me for
that Levis stink. It doesn't wear off.
No.
Sticks with you.
Yeah. All right.
That's amazing. All right, and on that note, I think that's a good spot to stop. Charlie Burris, Austin Stanley. Sorry that Crump never could get on with us. He was at the game.
He was really excited to try to do this. He was like, "They improved the Wi-Fi." I didn't expect there to be everybody at the game today like they were, but shout out to Vol Nation going up big.
At least, hey, you got to try, and Crumpton should be back next week for that Oklahoma game. It's going to be huge, and we'll be back halftime, post game. The Big Orange Podcast is Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the A to Z Sports Nashville YouTube channel, and then there's the A to Z Sports Tennessee Vols channel where you'll have clips from our show. Plus, coming up, I guess we can't say details quite yet, but some original Vols content also coming there. It's not just going to be us. Really, really exciting stuff.
A new face. There's going to be a new face to A to Z.
Yes. That
Vol fans and Nashvillians should know about.
Yeah. Hints all around on that one. If you want to pick it apart.
It's going to be very good content too. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, it should be sweet. So go subscribe and do all the things there. I think that's it. Thanks so much to everybody who listened, commented. It was great as always. We couldn't do it without you. Truly. Thank you. That is all. We will talk to you. I'll talk to you Monday. And Austin, if you're a Titans fan, Austin will talk to you tomorrow. Or as I always say, we'll talk to y'all next week.
See ya.